Hello, it is time for me to do a food review. Pokemon cereal. I bet this is delicious and tastes like Pokemon, and we're gonna try it. I don't have any milk, so I'm just gonna taste it. Oh, Jesus Christ, it's just tricks. Alright, we're gonna do a video game review today. Today we're gonna take a look at the legendary Lunar Pool on the NES. What's that? Something moving over there. There's probably a mouse in my room. Dang it. So I have to take a cue from Tom and Jerry. I mean, that'll show me what not to do, at least. Tom and Jerry was such a lovely cartoon, and had so much to the franchise. I mean, there was even a movie in 1992, and it's a garbage movie, but it's a garbage movie that I grew up with and thusly have a soft spot for. I also remember that during the previews of before the movie, that there was indeed a trailer for Tom and Jerry video games.
There's a mouse in the house, but that's no ordinary rodent. It's one half of Hollywood's most hilarious cat and mouse team, Tom and Jerry. Now starring on your NES, Game Boy, and Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Take off on the wildest, wackiest cartoon chase ever, filled with frantic antics and madcap mayhem. As Jerry, you've got to race through stage after stage of awesome animated action, with you-know-who hot on your tail. Tom and Jerry, from High-Tech Expressions, the ultimate games of cat and mouse.
So I gotta get me some of those Tom and Jerry video games. Oh, look at that! Tom and Jerry on the NES. Let's take a look. Ah yes, Tom and Jerry and Tuffy. Who the fuck is Tuffy? Oh, the gray mouse. Huh. I always knew him as Nibbles. I don't know. Let's hear in the comments down below, what is that gray mouse's name? The story is ultra simple. Tom kidnaps Nibbles, or as he apparently was initially named, Tuffy, and Jerry has to save him. So as such, the game has you play as Jerry, and I don't know what it is, but there was always something so special about playing as a smaller character in a world that was much larger in contrast. It was always super exciting, and this game does deliver in that. I should also note that this game was published by High-Tech Expressions, the brilliant company that brought us the Beethoven Super Nintendo game. Hopefully this is better than that. You start this game in, I think it's a basement, and you have pretty run-of-the-mill enemies, mostly bugs. They're not too bad, but you definitely have to stop and fight them pretty frequently. These flies are the worst though. They don't even do damage to you, they just exist to annoy you. There's not much more to say, except that this level is way longer than I remember it being. Level 2 feels like it takes forever as well. I mean, it's more the same, only you're in a sewer system of some sort. Every 3 levels you fight a boss who is obviously Tom. The first time around you're in I think it's a sink, and then you just have to bounce between the platforms, avoiding his projectiles while also hitting him with yours. Harmless enough. I mean, it leads to the next stage, which is in the kitchen, which is a charming enough setting, but man, some of these jumps are just ultra annoying to do, and you take fall damage, unfortunately. The music in this game is perfectly average, but sometimes the tempo of it rapidly increases randomly, and it makes me a tad bit anxious. But it's time to address the elephant in the room. However, this game unfortunately has limited continues. Yeah, I know, it's an NES game, it's NES hard, whatever you want to say, but I'm gonna count limited continues against the game regardless. Thankfully, there's Game Genie codes to enable unlimited lives, which they used without shame because there should have been unlimited continues to begin with. I don't feel bad about it at all. Well, like I had mentioned previously, some of these jumps are just, oof. The following level is in a tree, and There was this one jump that took me way more tries than I want to openly admit to actually successfully do. It's kind of embarrassing in retrospect, but at least after that is the next boss fight, which you basically piss off bees and then you make them sting Tom. I wonder how Tom would feel about the one and only bee band. I'm not gonna bore you with every little petty detail of this game, but the next few stages are pretty uneventful, and I mean, they were easy enough. Though the leaves in this one level were just as, if not more annoying than the flies in the first stage that I mentioned. Holy moly. Eventually you adventure down to hell, I think, and then you eventually combat Tom in hell, and that's still not the end. You'd think that once you go down to hell, that's the end of the game, but no. The following level is back in a living room of some sort, complete with an NES. I hope they have Lunar Pool for it. This stage is mostly harmless, but my god, I really loathe those bouncy balls that infest it. The next stage is the worst of all, though. I mean, I actually thought I was stuck until I realized I'd completely noticed a feature of the game. By pressing select, you can have different items that you can use instead of your throwing attack, including a bubble that can float to areas. That would have really helped when I had those really awful jumps, as well as a drill that can go through walls. Not only that, though, it only goes through walls that are compatible to it, and you can kind of tell because they flicker a little bit. I don't know if that's by design or not, or if the game is just glitching, but it's a neat concept, but you have to press select and go through your inventory every single time you use it, which is honestly pretty annoying, and these electric currents really just do not help. Another forgettable Tom boss fight, generic bathroom stage, and then you have the haunted attic. The attic actually might top the drill level simply due to the fact that it has enemy spam within. These enemies respawn with absolutely no notice too. It's ultra annoying, and it's kind of a maze on top of that. This level kind of sucks. Finally though, you get the last Tom boss fight, which is pretty easy if you get the pattern down. After that you unlock Tuffy's cage and the game is beat. All this trouble for a cat pun. Credits screen where it just seems like all three of them are like cool and best buddies, like nothing happened. Tom and Jerry on the NES is a decent game, but there's definitely some very questionable level design within it that kind of killed it for me a bit. Alright, enough video games. We gotta get this mouse. This will get him. Okay, I didn't get the mouse, but I got the Tom and Jerry Super Nintendo game. Let's do it. Here we have Tom and Jerry on the Super Nintendo. Given the time frame, this was the one I probably was asking for a lot when I was a kid. And honestly, I feel like this is a game I would have treasured at the time had I actually gotten it. The title screen is showcased on movie film, and the first level even has a marquee for the Tom and Jerry movie, but as far as I know, this game has no actual relationship to the movie. Is Tuffy in this game? Well, yes, actually, he is indeed in this game. The game has two-player alternating, which is, you know, something like Mario. And the Luigi of this game is, if you will, indeed our boy Tuffy. This game is honestly pretty simple. Level 1 is climb up the film marquee. Level 2 is inside the projector, maybe? And I don't know what movie it is, but given that this game was released in 1993, I'm going to choose to believe that it's for the hit film Homeward Bound, because it'd just be weird if it was the Tom and Jerry movie. The worlds are split up into 3 levels, and the third one each time has a boss fight. The third level here has you sledding through the movie theater, dodging popcorn and enemies. All by a very simple boss fight. And you know, that's another thing. The boss fights are actually, for the most part, really clever. The levels aren't super offensive, and they have neat themes to them. They're not memorable by any means, but the game is way better than I anticipated. My only real complaint is that, 1, there's no continues at all. We already went over this. Points deducted. And 2, some of the jumps are a bit annoying to successfully achieve. Another thing I addressed in the previous game, although it's not nearly as bad here. The game is short. I think it's a little bit shorter than the NES game even, but it is a better game overall, and the final boss fight is actually really creative. You do a few phases where you hit Tom in the face with your projectiles, and each time you get a key to unlock part of a rocket, and you just push them all to the bottom, and then you push it towards the mouse hole that Tom is grabbing through. I mean, it feels like something that you'd actually see in the show, and I appreciate it. After that, you see an animation where Tom, much like the stock of GameStop, is shooting directly to the moon. And God, that joke is going to be really dated in like 2 weeks. The credits then have Tom entangled in the film of Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey. It's by no means a Mario, but it's at least higher up in the tier of licensed Super Nintendo platformers, and I can't fault it for that. This will get him. Ooh, Game Boy game! Okay, so I didn't get the mouse, but I got a Game Boy game. So we might as well give it a spin and check it out. Okay, despite falling for the trap, I got a Game Boy game out of it, and you all know I love the Game Boy. Maybe it'll be as nice as the Super Nintendo game? The game opens up with some visuals that actually look very good for the Game Boy. I mean, it seems like it takes some cues from the NES game with Pal Tuffy being lost or something, and then Jerry says he'll save him. Wait, hold up. This isn't a game based on the movie. What's Jerry doing talking? Another neat thing to note is that this game has alternating multiplayer, and you only need one cartridge to do it. Yep, this is a Game Boy platformer alright. I mean, it controls fine for what it is, but there's nothing that really sticks out about this. I know I've said this about the other two games as well, but this one is even more obnoxiously obvious. You just collect items, you avoid obstacles, and you occasionally drive in a conveniently placed mouse-sized car. Okay. The music in this game is kind of strange. Most of it, if not all of it, seems to be directly lifted from both the NES and the Super NES games, and for some reason they seem to play on shuffle in the levels at random. I don't understand why, but... Aw, what a cute little flower! Honestly, the enemy placement and the level design in this game are kinda bad the more I play this, and I struggled to even make it through the early levels. Everything just seems to hurt you no matter how well you try to avoid it. This game is ridiculous. I have to channel my inner Billy Mitchell. I'm gonna cheat. And despite using a code to make it so that I can't receive damage from the enemy spam, those levels are still tricky due to how long and convoluted they are. I mean, they just feel like they never end, and there's really not a sense of direction in this game. Eventually on the 4th level I reached a jump that I just couldn't reach, so I kind of gave up and decided to cut my losses and move on. Okay, so that Game Boy game left a lot to be desired. Let's get serious with this mouse. Here we have Tom and Jerry Frantic Antics for the Sega Genesis. It also got a release on the Game Boy, which I don't own currently. Despite it literally having the same cover art as the Super Nintendo game, it's not at all the same game. In fact, unlike all these other games, this game is actually based on the movie that I've been talking about in this whole video, as implied by the title screen. The first stage just simply has you going home. You just go through the neighborhood. I mean, the game is a platform, and that's opposed to the entire thing being from Jerry's perspective. Both characters do play a role in the game, depending on what level you're on, although you can play as both of them simultaneously if you want, but I don't have any friends who are willing to play this thing with me, and I totally understand that. So again, it's another run-of-the-mill platformer. Are we really surprised at this point? Although this time, instead of having a few hits, you have a health bar, and as you collect items, they slowly restore your health, which you will absolutely need because this game is full of cheap shots. The audio in this game is very Sega Genesis. Just listen to Tom's jumping. And of course the audio it makes whenever you fall from a high platform. Sounds like you're going through a vortex or something. You can also collect items in these stages to throw at enemies, but you get such minimal amounts of them that I found myself preserving them and avoiding enemies just in case. The second stage has you go into the house to rescue Jerry as it's being demolished, similarly to the movie, I guess. Jeez, I really didn't realize how hard Tom had it until now. These stages just really are not well designed at all, and the placement of things that can damage you is kind of iffy. You pretty much have two speeds in this game, way too slow, and I'm going at slippery fast speeds because I'm on the Sega Genesis. The latter has led to more deaths than I care to admit. And there's a time limit. Can I also say how asinine this house design is? Now yes, I know canonically Tom and Jerry lose their house to the evils of gentrification, and yes, that is actually what they're getting at in the movie, but geez, hopefully they can move into a home where you can traverse through it without bouncing on couches to get upstairs. I mean, the level is not the worst thing I've ever seen, but the one thing that kills it for me is that these gosh darn wrecking balls. They straight up kill you in one hit no matter what health you're at, and every time I get to one of the ones at the end, I kind of forget that they're coming and then I get hit by them every single time. Thankfully, much like these other Tom and Jerry games, there's a lot of codes you can enter. It's like Hit Entertainment was painfully aware of all the issues in these games. After all, at this point, I don't even really care about legitimately beating the game. I just want to see more stuff in it. After that is level 3, and you finally get to play as Jerry. The only instructions it gives you is to stick with your friends. I mean, I can do that without playing this game, but okay. Stage is fine. Once again, it's just long and kind of confusing. Eventually I reached what I thought was the end, but I just ran out of time because I couldn't figure out where to go. Now yes, there is also an unlimited time cheat, but come on, I gotta have some dignity. After that is the library, which is just as poorly designed as your home. I don't know what's up with architects in this area. But then it also hit me at this point that Tom and Jerry Frantic Antics is basically a Metroidvania game. I mean, it's a bad Metroidvania game, but I think this might qualify. Falling level is more of the same, only you're in the basement of, I presume, the pet sanctuary that they get sent to in the movie. God, if Droopy makes a cameo here, I'll take back everything bad I said about the game. Yeah, I don't think he does. And then there's an attic after that that's more of the same. Up next is the Carnival, and I love Carnival stages. I mean, how could this go wrong? Oh, so it's not only a Metroidvania, but it's a horror Metroidvania. Gosh, those people are terrifying. I mean, there's not much more to say about this. Like, these games just don't give me a lot to talk about because there's nothing that really sticks out about any of them. More badly designed stages, and the game basically treats you as if you have to tiptoe through the stage so that stuff doesn't drop on you. So it's basically be cautious or get the Mega Man treatment where the game is entirely trial and error. At last, we have the final level of this game, which is the cabin from the end of the movie. As you could have guessed, it has the same architecture style of all the other indoor levels. I don't know what's up with homeowners around here and their desires for homes, but I guess I won't judge. The stage is actually pretty short compared to previous stages, and it ends on a boss fight, which I have literally no idea how to go about. I mean, this level does have projectiles that you can collect, but like I stated previously, the game barely gives you any, and despite hitting her with every single one I could find, she just keeps moving and nothing happens, it seems. She just runs back and forth on the roof, jumping around. Actually, surprised how much his architecture is holding up despite literally burning down at the moment. So, despite trying every button combo, I don't know what to do, and the manual doesn't seem to give me any pointers either, so I guess I'm done with this game. But thankfully, in the codes that I found, there's literally just a code to bring up the end credits. They had to have known how scuffed this game was if they included a code like that. It's nothing to write home about. I mean, just Tom and Jerry are watching the TV, and it shows that the little girl that they befriend in the movie, Robin, and her father are reunited. Okay, so I played 4 Tom and Jerry games, and they're kind of a mixed bag, and there's a whole universe of other Tom and Jerry games that I just might get into in the future if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Stay tuned. But I still haven't solved the issue with the mouse. Bumpbot, it was you all along? He tortures me. That's it, Bumpbot. You're playing Tom and Jerry Frantic Antics on the Sega Genesis. Alright, look. Pokemon cereal, I like tricks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at General Mills because they're ultra lazy because Baby Yoda cereal is also tricks. Lazy, lazy people.